Yo, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the JT Sports Podcast. I'm your host, JT, and I'm here to give you guys my college football week 6 best bets. I know it's been a while. The last time I did this, I had to take a break because I lost out on $2,000 because one team sold me. I had a 5-leg parlay. Everything was going perfect. And all I needed to claim my $2,000 was for Notre Dame to cover that 28-point spread against NIU at home. And of course, we all know what happened. NIU pulled off the massive upset. And I was really peed off about that. I'm not going to lie to you. And that's why I had to take a break for doing this for a while, just because, that was just pure insanity. And just betting on college football has been really rough for me this year. It's just so unpredictable that it was hard to get a read on a lot of these games. But the last couple of weeks off camera, I've been doing better. So I figured with me being hot, I might as well come out here and give you guys a few of my best bets for this week. And let's start off with Clemson. I love them minus 14.5 against Florida State. This is absolutely the lock of the week. If you're looking to get some easy cash, man, put a little bit on this game because Florida State, they're awful. You can make the argument that they could be the worst Power 4 program in college football this year. Now, DJU, he's out with a finger injury, and you got Brock Glenn starting at quarterback, but that doesn't really matter too much. Clemson looks like the second best team in the ACC, right behind Miami. Defense is playing well. The offense is really efficient. Cade Klubnik is having the best year of his career. So I love for Clemson to not just dominate Florida State, but to embarrass them, covering that minus 14.5. Next up, I'm taking Pitt -3 against North Carolina. North Carolina, they haven't been that good this year. They allowed Duke to come back from behind. Defensively, I think they're pretty solid. Offensively is why I got to take Pitt in this game because North Carolina hasn't really gotten good quarterback play this year. Pittsburgh with Eli Holstein, he has completely changed everything for the Panthers. I wasn't that high on Pitt coming into this season, but with them having good quarterback play, you know that Pat Narduzzi normally has a pretty good defense. I love them -3 against North Carolina. The thing about Pitt that probably would turn a little bit of you guys off about putting some money on them is that they haven't really dominated anybody on their same level of competition. Like, they barely beat Cincinnati, but this is a team that right now to me looks way better than North Carolina because you're more balanced offensively. You can run the ball. You can throw the football at a high level. And when you got consistently good quarterback play, normally these teams are able to cover against teams that on the other end don't really have that consistent play at QB. So give me Pitt -3 against North Carolina. Syracuse is a 6.5-point underdog against UNLV. I'm taking the Qs with the points. Although I do like UNLV to win outright. UNLV, they probably have the best resume to make the playoffs out of all of the G5 schools out there. Even Boise State, as good as what they are, UNLV has beat 2 Power 4 teams. They beat Houston pretty soundly. They also beat Kansas in a close win. And that's the thing about UNLV. For as good as what Barry Odom's squad is, they made the change at quarterback. The new guy they got in looks better than Matt Sluka. But they could be the best G5 team in college football, but I don't like them to just soundly beat Syracuse. If anything, this should be a fairly competitive game. Kyle McCord has been one of the better quarterbacks in FBS statistically. He takes pretty good care of the football. Although against Stanford, he had a little bit of an off game. He still was able to, piece together a pretty good performance. And for UNLV, they got a pretty good defense, a lot of veterans on that side of football, but Syracuse offense is pretty solid, and I expect the Qs to keep this a one-possession game, so I like Syracuse plus 6.5. Indiana, we got Kurt Cignetti's Hoosiers taking on Northwestern as a 13.5-point favorite. And they are going to be on the road in this game. It doesn't really matter that much to me. I still love them with the points because Northwestern, their offense doesn't have a pulse because their quarterback situation is god-awful. They're struggling to complete over 50% of their passes through the air in games. They don't really have any good receivers. Their offense is just a complete mess. And with Indiana, based off the statistics, this is one of the most efficient teams in the country. They beat Maryland last year, or not last year, but last week. And for Northwestern, their defense is pretty good. They could hold Indiana to, a close game for at least the first couple of quarters, but eventually Indiana should be able to pull away. They got more firepower on offense, and Northwestern, I just love betting against teams that don't have the ability to score points consistently, especially when they got crappy quarterback situations like what the Wildcats have. So I love Indiana minus 13.5. And the last best bet of the week is Ohio State minus 19.5 at home against Iowa. I've seen that the public has been betting pretty heavy on Iowa to cover. And it's understandable because one thing about Iowa, Dev, Texas, and them having the elite defense, their offense has somewhat improved, even though I think that their stats are a little bit inflated based off the competition that they've had success against. But, improvement for Iowa on offense, you got to give them a round of applause. But Ohio State, I just can't see this being a close game. Iowa's defense can get some stops, but is Iowa going to be able to put some points up on the board against Ohio State's defense? And if anything, I could see Ohio State defensively coming away with a few points of their own with how good their D-line is. They got a really good secondary. Like, Ohio State probably has the best defense in college football. And eventually, despite how good the Hawkeyes D is, Ohio State is going to tire them out. And eventually, they're going to be able to start getting those big plays with that true freshman stud and Jeremiah Smith. You got Travion Henderson, Quinshon Judkins at running back. Will Howard has played at a pretty high level. So eventually Ohio State is going to roll in this game. It'll probably be around the third quarter that they start to pull away because one thing with Iowa, with how good that defense is, you're just not going to go up and down the field at will against them. But eventually when the game continues to progress, that defense will get worn down. They'll get tired. And that's when Ohio State can start killing them and start scoring some points. So I love Ohio State to cover minus 19.5. I can see this being a 4-possession win for the Buckeyes. Probably like 34-3 or 7 is the final score that I got for this game because I really don't see how Iowa can hang with Ohio State without their offense being somewhat efficient. And for them to be able to cover, they at least got to be able to put 17 points on the board, and I don't think it's plausible with how that offense looks, and their quarterback situation isn't good neither. So these are my best bets for week 6 of the college football season. Let me know if you guys play any of these, and hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, turn on post notifications so you don't miss when we drop new content, when we go live. Remember that you can find this episode and all of our previous ones on audio platforms or podcasting platforms, wherever you get your podcasts from, Apple, Spotify, Amazon. Go ahead, check out the JT Sports Podcast. Give us a 5-star review if you enjoy. And follow us on Instagram at JT Sports _ and on X at JT Sports __. And I'll see you guys shortly with another episode.